Okay, so low bar squatting, the other squat. And this is called a low bar because of the bar's position on your back. I'll do a little clip of that, but rather than it sitting on your trapezius, these muscles here, it's going to sit a little lower onto your rear deltoids, okay? This is going to push the center of mass of the bar back, yeah? Back towards the middle. That's going to help, if you have, say, knee problems or, if you have knee problems, this is going to avoid that knee over toe, reduce the amount of flexion the knee has to go through, so it eases the load off it, but makes this very quad dominant. When we get our knees really wide in a high bar squat, knees over toes really wide, it places massive emphasis through the glutes and the posterior chain to make sure that's good. So if you're lacking in some mobility in that area, or you have bad knees or things like that, this will be a much safer, much more comfortable lift for you to manage. I'm going to set up, this is my high bar position, high up on the traps, hands together. Now let's drop it into that low bar. Hands are going to go wider. I drop it down. So now it's no longer here on my traps, it's here on my rear deltoids. Yeah, hands wider, elbows still low. My sort of chest is leaning forward slightly just because of the movement and how it sets up, and I can then squat from there. So there's the difference between the high and the low bar. So the difference in setup then, your hands are probably going to have to be wider, okay? Just because of the bar's location, like I say, this now is low down on my rear delts, not on my traps. So the hands are going to have to go a little bit wider to compensate for that. So once I'm in set position, got that bar a little lower, I'm going to go still wide legs. My preference is still to have my toes out a little bit. That's how my anatomy works. I would feel really uncomfortable with my toes forward. Yeah, so I'm going to turn that out. Now the difference is in this, it's going to look like I'm not going as deep. Well, I'm not going as deep, but I'm going to keep the weight back, drive my hips back, and try and keep my shin bones more upright, okay? So before, in the high bar squat, the knees were going over the toes. In the low bar squat, my knees aren't going to go over my toes nearly as much, and I'm going to try and keep that shin bone vertical. So let's have a look again at my shin bone here. I set it up, posture's good, shin bone stays good, stays more upright, keep the bar level, drop, and up. Now that looks like I'm not going through as full a range of motion, but I've still got over 90 degrees of knee flexion in there, which is what I want to make it an effective movement for my quads and my glutes. One more rep, keep my shins level, posture good. Excellent. That was a good rep, James, well done. So a big part of this is where the bar is going to be forward or backwards in relation to your weight. Now, if that bar goes forward in front of your toes, if you looked over the top of me and my bar was set here, that's going to put massive pressure leaning forward, again, forcing us to probably round and early extend again, okay? You'll struggle to get the bar back too far. You'll feel like you're going to drop it, so you're not going to go that way. The common fault would be that bar would travel forward, either due to a lack of flexibility in the ankles or a weakness through the core. But in a perfect world, that bar will want to stay through the middle of my foot when I squat. I'll have a go for it now, see what I can do. So, I'm going to set it up. My feet are wide. The bar's a little lower than high on my traps. Set my elbows nice and low. Important that we keep those low, not back. Okay. I'm going to drive my bum back, try and keep my shins upright, and keep that bar through the middle of my foot. Boom. Nice. Now that is, I can feel that as I'm doing this, I have a gammy right knee. And that's keeping the pressure off my knee. So the hips go back, I then squat, try and keep my shins relatively upright. Keep that bar in the middle of my foot. One more. Lovely. So in summary then, a low bar squat is better for you if you struggle with mobility, you can't get your knees over your toes, and you may have an injury or feel like you have a weakness in your knees. So the key points to take away, we set the bar a little bit lower, okay? It's not high up on your traps, that little bit lower towards your rear deltoids, back of your shoulders. The feet can stay wide, but the big difference between this and the high bar is that the shins don't travel forward, the knees don't travel forward as far. The bum goes back, we keep the weight of the bar right traveling over the middle of our foot, not in front of our foot, in the middle of our foot. You'll feel like you're probably not getting as low, which is absolutely fine. You're still getting to a 90 degree of flexion. Flexion just means bend. You're still getting to 90 degrees of flexion at the knee while reducing the amount of load through the knee and putting a bit more onto the quads. Right, on to the next one. I'll see you next time. Thank you.